Live from WTVO Rockford and your home team. Eyewitness News at 5 starts now.
Advocates take the day to spread awareness for heart health. One local patient hopes her story convinces others to take the warning signs seriously. A Stateline organization partners with a foreign government. It's all to help bring complicated services closer to home. And a local museum transforms into the front lines of World War II. Participants say the event is all about keeping that history alive. Good afternoon. I'm Eric Wilson. Mimi Murphy is off. Investigators officially released the name of the man killed in a hit and run on East State Street in Rockford. The Winnebago County Coroner's Office identifies him as Jose de la Luz Paz. The office was called on Tuesday in reference to the case. An autopsy Wednesday shows Paz died from closed head injuries. Rockford police are still investigating the crash. The car's been found. Police haven't made any arrests. A Janesville mom has been found safe. We first told you about this last week. No one saw Drake Kangas and her child since the 19th at a Janesville Motel 6. Today, police say both Kangas and her child have been found alive. Janesville PD didn't provide any more information than that. Every year, heart disease claims nearly 700,000 lives. That's just in the United States. Health advocates around the world use today as a way to raise awareness every year. Nikel Delgado introduces us to a Wisconsin woman who saw the warning signs before her 40th birthday. Nikel.
That's right, Eric. Our hearts are constantly working and never takes a break. Doctors tell me the true way on how to take care of your heart, and it all starts by taking care of your own whole body.
It was just a respiratory issues that I thought I was having, and they just kept on going on. And taking groceries from the car to my house, doing tasks for my job, it was way harder than usual, but I was still able to do it.
Delonda Jackson woke up one morning with numbness in her arm. She went to the emergency room and was diagnosed with heart failure at the age of 38.
My heart wasn't working like it was supposed to, so we were just trying to figure out what was going on, but I was very shocked.
Cardiovascular disease is the #1 killer in the United States, and doctors stress a big factor is our diet.
It comes down to decreasing our sugar intake. It comes down to decreasing our processed foods intake.
UW cardiologist Dr. Jerry Yin says now is the time you should be paying attention to your body before it's too late.
Make sure that you're up to date on your screening. Can really go a long way in terms of preventing or decreasing your risk of developing heart disease 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the line.
Delonda says the changes she's made not only helps her, but her family too.
I didn't feel like I was doing this just for my heart. It was like overall health. Like, if you want to live longer, eat better, work out, move around a little bit.
To prevent heart disease, Dr. Yan recommends folks to get screened for blood pressure, cholesterol, and diabetes as early as 18 years old. Eric?
Thanks, Nikel. Community members play a part in our local disaster response plans. Winnebago County's local emergency planning committee hosted its annual public meeting. It focused on the topic of emergency plans, along with how the committee handles chemical incidents, operations, training, and other topics. Community members were encouraged to ask questions. A local organization partners with a foreign country to benefit people living in our area. YWCA Northwestern Illinois hosted the Mexican Consulate mobile unit. Community members could process their Mexican passports, voter registrations, and IDs. Around 900 appointments are expected to be filled this week. Organizers say the main purpose of the event is to conveniently bring these sometimes complicated services closer to home.
I think it's empowering for the community, and I think it's a good addition for our agency. Our mission here is empowering women, eliminating racism, and part of that mission is also just empowering minorities, basically. And I feel that this brings, like I said, a great service to the community just to make things easier for this particular group.
The consulate arrived Tuesday. It's leaving tomorrow. A Stateline business celebrates National Coffee Day. Fire Department Coffee served its roast at the Rockford Walmart near East State Street. Members of the team were out with their fire truck, connecting with the community. Fire Department Coffee is headquartered in Rockford. Many of its staff are former first responders. The company's founder is excited about the community response.
We had so many people come up who supported us and say they buy our products and that they follow us on social media, and it's so great to meet the people face to face, and we wouldn't be where we are today without the support of the city, our community, and the people who support us.
Next month, Fire Department Coffee will participate in Walmart's 10th annual Open Call. The event allows small business owners to pitch their products to the chain. History will come to life this weekend at Rockford's Midway Village Museum. It's World War II days. The grounds of Midway Village are transformed. Some areas will take you to the European battle zone. Others will bring you back to the home front. Hundreds of reenactors take part.
For me, being a reenactor, the part of it is honoring those who have served and came before us and telling their story. We know that a lot of World War II veterans that used to be able to come out to these events are no longer able to, the few that are left. So we're out here trying to do our best to teach as much history as we can and honor the story that they brought to life that we can now preserve.
I like interfacing with the public. I mean, there's a story to tell on both sides of the war to try to help people understand what happened 70, 80 years ago. And it's important to understand so we don't have these things happen again in our history.
World War II Days runs Saturday and Sunday. Gates open at 10 in the morning. Lawmakers on Capitol Hill have just one day to avoid a federal government shutdown. Coming up, we'll look at what's holding things up in the House.
Summer getting its one last laugh in. Temperatures getting back up into the 80s for the next few days in a row. Going to be warm with a lot of sunshine as well. I'll let you know how long that lasts and when we see our next rain chances returning to the area coming up in just a few minutes.
You're watching Eyewitness News, your home team with Eric Wilson, Mimi Murphy, Scott Lever, and meteorologist Jordan Wolf.
Flags have been lowered to half-staff at the White House to honor Diane Feinstein's passing. She's the longest-serving woman senator in American history and the oldest sitting senator. Feinstein was a Democrat, first elected to the Senate in 1992. She made history as the first woman elected mayor in San Francisco and the first woman in the Senate. Feinstein planned to retire at the end of her term. There were calls for her to resign recently because of health concerns. Senator Feinstein was 90 years old. A potential government shutdown is just one day away. Lawmakers are on Capitol Hill, but House Speaker Kevin McCarthy still doesn't appear to have enough of his own Republican members on board to pass a short-term spending bill. ABC's Liz Landers is in Washington to let us know if they're any closer to making a deal.
Congress has just about one day left to pass some kind of spending bill to fund federal agencies or a devastating shutdown impacting millions of military and federal workers could occur, a situation looking much more likely to happen.
The bill is not passed.
Speaker Kevin McCarthy calling votes on a short-term spending bill that would keep the government open until October 31st, but several hardline Republicans in the House blocked it.
What is the logical next step? Keep working and make sure we solve this problem.
Those conservative lawmakers oppose a funding bill that gives billions more to Ukraine while demanding increased funding for the southern border.
Overnight, in the last 11 hours, the Republican border position has gotten weaker through this continuing resolution. That's why I'm voting against it.
Even if a bill can pass the House, it's unlikely to pass in the Senate, where they introduced their own bipartisan 45-day stopgap funding bill. The White House estimates that 3.5 million federal workers will have to go without pay if the government shuts down, including more than 1 million active duty members of the military.
If the House fails to fulfill its most basic function, if it fails to fund government by tomorrow, we'll have failed all our troops. It's a disgrace.
And in addition to military personnel, a potential shutdown would also affect TSA agents, air traffic controllers at airports, and American families in need of food assistance programs. In Washington, Liz Landers, ABC News.
Temperatures tonight could dip down into the 50s. Up next, Jordan shows us how quickly they rebound, and he recaps a streak of rain that still isn't enough to bring us out of our deficit.
Now, your first warned weather forecast from meteorologist Jordan Wolf.
If you feel that it has been overly cloudy, gloomy, and rainy over the last 2 weeks, you are not wrong. And the data actually backs you up. we have seen 12 days in a row where we had at least a trace amount of rainfall, 9 of which included measurable rainfall. And during those 9 days with the measurable rainfall, we saw over 1.5 inches of rain that fell during that time. Unfortunately, though, when that adds up in the grand scheme of things, we are still around 1.33 inches behind where we should be for the month of September and around 6 inches or so behind where we should be overall for the entire calendar year. So we are still seeing some of those drier conditions persist, even though we have had that rainy stretch, because most of those days we really didn't see a whole lot of significant rainfall, with many of those recording under 1/10 of an inch of rainfall or even a trace amount. And it looks like the drier pattern has returned, and it's going to stick with us for the next few days, along with the warmer weather and lots of sunshine as well. So that is good news for summer lovers, and this was kind of the first teaser day of that summer kind of feel to it, with plenty of sunshine showing up with all of our SkyTrack cameras across the region. Not only showing up with our SkyTrack cameras, but also with satellite and radar as well, with the majority of the cloud cover both remaining off to our east as well as off to our northwest, with the next weather system that will remain off that direction, not set to impact us in the short term. But that is helping to bring some of the warmer weather to our area here right now, because all of this southerly flow is taken over across the plains, and many spots have actually seen temperatures into the 90s. Locally, not quite as warm because we are still holding on to that southeasterly flow as opposed to southerly flow, and that is helping to keep our temperatures still warmer, but not nearly as warm as they were further off to our west. Locally, many spots are still sitting in the mid and upper 70s at the moment. 74 right now, the temperature in DeKalb, 76 in Rochelle, 80 degrees in Sterling, 81 in Savannah, 76 degrees in Rockford. Our weather watcher Mike out north of Foreston is reporting a temperature of 78 degrees and no rainfall recorded on today's date. Now, the warmer weather is also going to stick with us through the kind of the evening as well, and that is going to be really good news for anyone going out to Friday night football games. Temperatures into the 70s by the time we get to around kickoff, only falling back down into the mid and upper 60s by the time we get to halftime. So it will start to get a little bit cooler toward the end of some of those games, but the overnight lows tonight only dip back down into the upper 50s. 58 degrees for the overnight tonight. We do return back into the 80s once we get into tomorrow. 83 degrees with plenty of sunshine and strong southerly winds helping to keep with us, and that's going to help to bring temperatures up in the short term, but also in the long term as well, as this ridge of high pressure develops locally, sandwiched in between a pair of low pressures. That's an omega block, with the blocking pattern helping to bring all of that warm weather to us locally. Unfortunately, that does not last forever. As we all know, the weather changes back and forth from week to week, and the cooler weather is set to return as we trend into the end of next week and going into next weekend. In the short term, though, plenty of sunshine and warm weather to enjoy. Temperatures into the 80s for 4 days in a row before we do see our next rain chances as we get into the middle and end of next week. And Eric, that also brings our temperatures back down into the 60s.
And pretty much back to where they're supposed to be, or pretty close anyway. Jordan, thanks. Scott Lever's next with sports. He'll join us live from Pecatonica High School to preview what should be the biggest night of high school football this season.
Now sports with sports director Scott Lever.
Pecatonica is home to the Winnebago County Fair and the Peck Playhouse, and tonight it is home to one monster high school football matchup. The Leewin Panthers will be taking on the DuPac Rivermen, a showdown between NUIC co-leaders. And what a game this should be here tonight. Both teams 5-0. A year ago, it was Leewin that won the conference championships. 2 years ago, DuPac won it. And so far this season, these two teams have simply been shredding their opponents for the most part. The Rivermen have outscored their opponents by an average score of 45-6. They're led by junior quarterback Cooper Hoffman, who at the rate he's going could be an all-state quarterback. The Rivermen have been very good in recent seasons, but this might be their best team yet.
You know, last year we had a lot of young guys playing new positions, varsity roles. Cooper starting for us last year as a sophomore, just trying to get his feet wet. I think he looks a lot more comfortable back there. And then you take kind of these group of seniors that maybe didn't have as much varsity time when they were sophomores, so it kind of took them a little bit of time to get acclimated last year. And they just look comfortable out there. They enjoy being out there. They don't look nervous. They don't look rattled. And from a coaching side of things, that's what I enjoy seeing out of them.
The Leewin Panthers come into this game having won their last 24 games. That includes the playoffs. They haven't lost a game since Week 9 of the 2021 season to Foreston. They're led by their own All-State candidate and running back Gage Dunker. This should be their toughest battle so far. Coach Aaron saw DuPac play last Friday night, and here's what he told me about the Rivermen.
If they haven't stepped it up, I hate to see it when they do, because I thought they looked really good. They're really, really sharp on offense, well disciplined on defense, and this will be a tough task. You know, it's I just think they've got it all going on right now.
And what a matchup this should be here tonight. And while I'm here covering this blockbuster game, Reagan Holgate's going to be at Boylan covering another monster matchup. The Titans will be hosting the Hononegah Indians. Both teams undefeated there and leading the NIC 10. These two teams have split their last 10 meetings with 5 wins each. Both teams are loaded on the lines. They have excellent playmakers at the skill positions, and they have the 2 best quarterbacks in the NIC 10 in Cole Warren and Connor Dennis. This game won't decide the conference championship because they both have big games next week, but the winner will be in excellent shape. Here are the other NIC 10 games tonight. Belvedere North at Auburn, Jefferson at Belvedere, Freeport at Guilford, and East at Harlem. Some other key games around the area include Oregon at Stillman Valley, Rockford Lutheran at Rockford Christian, Byron at Genoa Kingston, Forreston at Stockton, and Marengo at Rochelle. Reagan Holgate, Tim Bailey, and I are going to have it all covered for you, as always, tonight on Overtime. That's 11 o'clock on Fox 39. That's it for sports from Pecatonica. We'll be right back.
Well, we've got a really nice streak of weather that is pretty much more typical for June than it is for the beginning of October.
Yeah, and we're temperatures are talking about ones that are going to be about 10 degrees above normal, not only for our high temperatures, but also some fairly pleasant overnight lows. Now, I don't know about you, but I personally like those cooler nights a little bit more than some of the warmer nights.
It's nice. You have the windows open,
right,
get that breeze going, sure.
So, but these are still reasonable temperatures to maybe open up some of those windows during the night. You can maybe shut them and turn the air conditioning on for the daytime with temperatures into the 80s, but it is a very warm stretch, and summer lovers kind of getting their last little hurrah in before we get into more fall-like weather. Clear skies at the moment on the Firstborn Interactive Radar from Rockford Auto Glass and More, keeping our skies clear, also helping to bring our temperatures up for the next few days. A streak of 80-degree days going to start tomorrow, 83 degrees in Rockford. That's going to continue all the way through Tuesday. Rain chances as we get into Wednesday, and that does bring our temperatures back down closer to normal for the end of the week.
Thanks, Jordan. Stay safe.